It's crunch time here on The Jump. Donovan Mitchell, as mentioned at the top of the show, he is not going to play the final 3 regular season games as he continues to recover from that sprained right ankle. He is going to be reevaluated before the beginning of the playoffs. So, Matt, how worried should Jazz fans be?
Huge hit. I mean, he's so important to this team, and obviously we all know ankles are nothing to mess with. I mean, either you can go or you can't, and if you can't, if he's going to try to tough it out, you're really going to be able to see that. Not only him, but Mike Conley. You know, so like I said, the East is very top-heavy at the top. The West is a little different. I wouldn't be surprised if a 7-2 or a 1-8 upset happens in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And look, Rachel, we have to remember, Donovan Mitchell had an audition last year in the bubble, and that's why he got the big contract. And I think he took a leap to being a superstar for how he performed in the bubble, going toe-to-toe with Jamal Murray when it mattered the most. And we all know in this postseason and in the playoffs, you need that superstar power.
Yep.
You know, Bogdanovic has been great. Rudy Gobert is who he is, but you still need that Donovan Mitchell, that guy could go out there and get you 45 or 50 points.
And this why this all season on this particular show, I said they needed one more score. You know, I wasn't expecting Mitchell to be out, but I just think in the playoffs you need your go-to guys, and they don't. With Mitchell out, Conley's another efficient scorer, but he's been in and out. You need a go-to guy, and do they have that?
And you're not talking about Clarkson off the bench.
I love Jordan Clarkson,
category.
but it's different. You know, your sixth man can't be your go-to guy. He's obviously going to be able to help. He's an efficient scorer as well, but you need your go-to guy, and that's Donovan Mitchell. Like I said, been saying all season, they needed one more scorer, but hopefully he can come back and be the player he was in the bubble last year.
And Perk, I agree with you. Donovan Mitchell earned every dollar of that contract, but it will be hard to play your way into shape in a first round when you are facing possibly the Lakers or the Warriors. Right. So that is just a tough thing. And as I said earlier in the show, also with a different injury, with a different player, guys in the playoffs, I've seen you all. You go all at the person who's injured. You test someone, you make them move. I know how you guys work. So in the playoffs, it doesn't happen as much during the regular season, but in the playoffs, they absolutely always see someone working a guy with an injury. So it's just something that happens.
Let me say one more thing, too. Obviously, this Warrior team isn't the We Believe team, as Draymond said, but we do owe Utah in the playoffs. So this might be the Warriors' time to pay it back for us.
There we go. All right, we'll see that. We'll see. Utah, obviously a legit first seed, if that's the way it turns out. All right, Seattle Storm star Breanna Stewart signing with Puma. She is going to receive her own signature shoe. It will be the first original women's product made from scratch in more than a decade since our friend Candace Parker had that signature TS Ace Commander in 2010. Kendrick, how big a deal is this?
It's huge. It's huge. And I just want to know when Big Perkins go get his pair. As long as I get a pair, I'm all good with it. But this makes me proud because it lets me know that the women, the WNBA players are getting appreciated like they supposed to. Like, it's more WNBA players that should have their own signature shoe, and I think this is just the starting point.
Hats off to Puma basketball in particular. Ever since they had new management, they've really been thinking outside the box. And what I love about this is this gives every little girl in the country the hope and the dream that, hey, man, one day I can have my own shoe. So I think that Puma's setting the precedent now for Nike and Adidas, and it's usually the other way around. So, again, shout out to Puma basketball, man.
Absolutely. And, Perk, we got Stewie on the show tomorrow, so I'll ask her if she can work in a little shoe box purchase for the two of you guys. All right, let's talk Raptors. They were officially eliminated from playoff contention with the Pacers win over the Cavs on Monday. We wanted to call back to that because it's the first time in 8 seasons that the Raptors have missed the playoffs. Matt, there's some big decisions to be made on Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Lowry, even Masai Ujiri's deal is up this offseason. What do you think is next for this team? I think we've seen the greatest Raptor of all time, Kyle Lowry, play his last game as a Raptor. This team's only two years removed from the finals, but anytime you lose a Kawhi Leonard, and right before you lost Kawhi Leonard, to get Kawhi Leonard, you had to lose DeMar DeRozan, so your two best current players, you lose them. I wouldn't be surprised if the GM jumps ship. Trent is a young, up-and-coming superstar. He'll probably get a big bag to stay there, but I think we've seen the last of Kyle Lowry in Toronto.
Hey, I agree. I think it's over with for Kyle Lowry. He'll be somewhere else on a contender next season. My biggest question mark with that franchise is, what's going to happen to Pascal Siakam? We know that he had a lot of up and downs, a lot of battles within the organization this year. He was unhappy. They paid him a lot of money. He haven't lived up to expectations this season. So it's going to be interesting to see if they try to move on away from him, because we all know that they are very high on OG.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a rebuilding situation. I think something that Pascal faced that outside basketball people wouldn't really understand. Perk, we understand. It's a lot harder from going to the second or third option to being the number one option every single night that a team is game planning for. And I think Pascal is trying to learn how to be that number one option. As great as he is, I personally think he's a second or third option on a really good team. But to be that number one option, he learned the ups and downs that we've seen since he got that money about being that top player on the scouting report.
He's such a fighter, though. I would not count him out as this being the finished product of who he is in the NBA. He definitely has a future and some growth ahead of him. I do think that the Raptors handled the season correctly after they had that early bout of COVID rock the team. They're playing in Tampa. They're not even in front of their own fans. When it looked like, hey, this isn't going to happen, pushing these guys to the point where they might fall apart just to get sort of an 8 or 7 playoff berth wasn't worth it.
But they got a championship out of this whole little
run.
Yes,
they
like I said,
did. And shouts to Kyle Lowry for that. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.